Hello, it is The Late Challenge and this is episode 32 now. Would you believe that? Same people as usual, Gareth Roberts, Paul Cope. He doesn't even know what we're talking about this week. It's all
There's nothing on my Mac. I've got a Mac open, there's nothing on it.
It's like, it's like when he's drinking from a drink and there's nothing in the cup as well. But yeah, it's all a bit wild this week. Mainly my fault, if we're all being honest, because on Saturday night I kipped on the cop, kip in inverted commas, and then last night I've had my 2.5-year-old son staying with me, so very short of sleep over the last couple of days, so anything could happen. Also been prepping for the other shows that we now do as well. If you haven't got onto them yet, we are doing shows specifically about Liverpool along with This Is Anfield, so go and have a look on their channel. We do a live at 5 on a Monday, we do a second show midweek. They're all on there. You can go and have a look, or you can tune in on a Monday and see what you think. And yeah, some blurt out there, which I did tweet about yesterday, said, you need to stop doing that cringy stuff, lads, and just concentrate on the football. There's literally a show about football, you knobhead. Right.
I saw that tweet and I was like, oh, he didn't get much sleep last night.
No. And on the board as well, we have got good luck to Derek. Apologies for my language, Derek. That is Phil Keeley's dad, a mate of ours. He's been a Red since the Shankly days. And this weekend, he is undergoing an operation, a triple heart bypass. So good luck to you, Derek.
Yeah, good luck,
You'll
mate.
be sound, mate. The spirit of Shankly will see you through, I am sure. And fingers crossed it all goes well for you, mate. So that's Phil and Phil's dad, Derek. Should we start with the kip on the cop then? I am very much winging this agenda. I'm sure we'll be fine. We've done it enough now, 32 shows. But yeah, kip on the cop.
Yeah, just go back to that though. I love the way you said 32 shows, like you were surprised by it.
Yeah, I was.
I can't believe we've got this far.
I know. I mean, someone's not pulled the curtain on it yet, so we'll just keep going and see what happens. I mean, we said the other day,
What did you expect would be the downfall by now? We get cancelled because of something I've said.
Yeah, very much so.
Do you know the danger with that? Like once you get away with it, you just keep pushing the boundaries.
Well, what I noticed on this kip on the cop was actually a sort of a gentle reminder of that is we talk very openly, I think, particularly on the Patreon show, this one as well though. And we talked about all kinds and all different aspects of life, and, we're very honest, I would say, 99% of the time. And I was quite honest about some of my motivations around Kip on the Cop, wasn't I? So I was there, on this show we didn't see previously. So I kept on the Cop for charity. It was for to help the homeless and vulnerable in the city via a number of schemes that are fantastic, by the way. Might come on to that later on. But I did also say, like, there's a part of me that's like ultra competitive and it's just like, I want to raise the most money. As things stand, you can still sponsor me, by the way. You can still throw in. It's open for 30 days after the event. But as things stand, I am top of the league. I am £3,738 in. And Glenn in second place is on 2,477.
He's miles ahead.
What's funny about this is,
did you have a ceremony? Were you walking around like cock of the walk?
We'll get on this because this is quite funny. So we got there on Saturday. We were told to arrive at the cop at 7:30. And then there was various things that they went to before, you get your head down. There was a little bit of entertainment on. Chris Kirkland was there, needed a Q&A. You threw in your question when we did the video version of that.
That made I
you were really pleased with yourself, weren't you?
I was just wetting myself. I honestly got in bed, and I actually nearly said this because I'm lying in bed naked. I sleep naked, and I nearly said, "Sending you this message while I'm naked, mate." And it came up on my Twitter, user live, and I just thought, I can't not throw something in, can I?
And what he threw in, by the way, in case you missed it, this was on This Is Anfield's feed as well. He put Chris, Gareth always said that Peggy Arfex said was a better keeper than you, which clearly I never. But it did raise a smile from the pair of us. It was good. But yeah, 3,738. Glenn in second on 2,477. More importantly, the whole thing's raised so far just shy of 60 grand, which is really, really good. And yeah, so when me and my mate Gary did it, and so he come and picked me up, parked in the car park. Obviously the car's staying there overnight, so we're all right, but you couldn't take no alcohol in. There was no alcohol available there on the night, So I was like, well, should we have a cheeky couple before we go in, like? And he was up for it. So we went the Arkles, like. Hadn't been there for some time, and that's good, by the way. And I would say worth checking out. It's had a bit of a makeover since times previous that I've been in there. But anyway, so we're in there having a pint. Wasn't chocolate or anything. The England game's on. Not really bothered about that, like, obviously. And some fella came in with like gear and all that, and he was kipping on the cop as well, quite clearly, like, had sleeping bags, backpack, all that kind of gear. And he just sort of like sat near us. But he was keeping to himself, had his headphones in, on his phone, whatever. And me and Gary are chatting away. And then I just thought, well, he's obviously doing this. I'll involve him in the conversation, do you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, mate, so have you decided if, you're kipping on the concourse or are you going to kip on the actual cop? And then we were just talking about, been looking at the weather and all that. There was a bit of a lightning warning earlier, but it seems to have gone now. But, small talk about the event. Yeah. And then he just goes, so you've beat me then?
Oh, was it him?
It was
brilliant.
Him. And I went, oh, is that you? Yeah, you. And he went, yeah. And he said, I heard you saying, I had rich mates and all this. He'd listened to the thing. And it was a bit of a reminder that, like, we just come on here as though we're having a chat among ourselves, don't we? People actually listen.
Thousands of people are listening.
People actually listen and watch and take on board what we're saying. So Glenn was a boss fella. We had a good chat with him.
Did he have rich mates? Did you get into it?
He just said that someone threw in like a fairly significant sum, and then he said that they sort of like there was a bit of a domino effect of all the mates felt like obliged to throw in that amount.
Whereas on our one, I went on because I saw you'd messaged our mate Matt saying, fucking hell, mate, nice one for that. And straight away I was like, he's put a ton in there.
Yeah.
And I looked on him, I'm not fucking, you're a fucking ton.
Dead briefly, what the money's going towards as well, they explained that to us on the night. So there's a Liverpool homeless football club, which have previously done stuff about on the Rap, actually. And it's fantastic. It's really good. And it's just the idea of, people who have fell into homelessness, when they're on the way back out, giving them something social, giving them a distraction, meet like-minded people, all that kind of stuff, all dead important stuff. The other scheme was I found Liverpool FC Foundation thing about employability with good stats behind it, and doing some good work. So all that money's going to a really good place. So if you do still want to throw in and you still do want to donate, please do. I threw absolutely loads of it all over social. So if you find me on social, it's there. If you don't want to look me up, you can just look up Kip on the Cop or Liverpool Foundation or whatever you want. And it's easy enough to sort of find the breadcrumbs back to the link where you need to donate. In terms of the event itself, it was suitably surreal. Like, they just, the order of events was, there was a lad playing the guitar and, a bit of entertainment and things like that. Then Chris did the Q&A. They told us a bit about like these schemes, where the money's going, all that kind of stuff. Obviously told you about like how things were going to work. So what the lights were going off at 11:15, I think it was. They were waking us up at 6:15, which was news to me.
Why?
I think it was because when I started to think about it logistically, I think it was probably because they literally had like stewards there all night, obviously. And so, I think probably they wanted to get
out as quick as you can.
They were getting paid.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was really good, and it was just nice to be part of something like that. And the little kid in me as well. I was thinking, well, stood strokes sat in this stand for 30 odd years, whatever it is now. I've never kipped here, close to it, like under Hodgson, but never actually fell asleep before. And I was made up with myself as well, by the way. I got some ripping off stuff I said on here, from people saying, fucking pillow spray, you've changed and all this, eye mask, fucking all that. Well, I took the full hit.
Did you do it all, yeah?
Yeah, I took it all, because it's my routine, and it worked.
And I saw a picture, so you did kip on the cop?
Did kip on the actual cop, yeah, between the rows of seats. I was round about 105. I wanted to go up to where I normally sit, which is 304, but they taped it off after a certain bit. I presume just so they can keep an eye on what you're doing and stuff like that. So yeah, I couldn't go up to 304, unfortunately. Funny, actually, one of my mates, Lee, like I told him, because he was like, let us know how it's going and how it's working and where, and I said, oh, you're not allowed up to 304. And I just got this message back saying, like it was in quotations. It was like, what do you mean I'm not allowed to go to 304? Get your hands off me. Which made me laugh because, it did cross my mind. Yeah. What? I sit up there. Yeah. And I thought, oh no, it's a charity event.
Yeah, best not.
Keep your head down.
So how many people did it?
Well, I mean, looking at the Just Giving, there's about 160 odd on there. And then I think like there was people from the foundation doing it and some staff on top of that. So it was between 160, 180, around that mark, I think. And then, like I say,
That's
you had
done well to raise that much money.
stewards and staff there. I know, yeah. Yeah, I'm made up to it, being a part of it. Made up to get in that figure myself. Made up with the big figure as well. And made up from the support. I know loads of people did hear us on this and did sponsor as a consequence of hearing me on this. So thanks very much for that. Quite a few people put in the comments like love TLC and things like that, which is really, really nice. Again, you probably know from listening to us, especially if you subscribe to the Patreon shows as well, you know that we are in a permanent state of angst about, is this going to work and how long can we keep it going? So it is always nice to hear nice comments. And yeah, in terms of the actual kip, like I was off quick, which I was surprised about. So they put the lights out. I did my little routine, and I was gone. I was out, and the only problem for me was I woke up about 3:15, and I needed a piss.
This is the question I was going to get to.
And I was like, oh, this is a fucking like, you know what I mean? Because like I had to like get out the sleeping bag, put my trainees back on.
I don't even like getting out of bed to go in the bathroom.
Do you know what I mean? Well, at home.
So you had to go like as if you're at the match. Yeah. Let's go all the way down to the box.
Yeah. I mean, I could have just pissed myself, but I didn't think that was in there.
Imagine that. Everyone there and the stewards coming on in the morning. Have you pissed yourself, mate?
Yeah, couldn't be hard. Trek to them bogs.
It was freezing.
And you know, thankfully it was a warm night as well, which was good for us. But yeah, so got up, had to go to bog and you know, put trainees on, go down the stairs, go down the concourse, go into a dead brightly lit bog. And like it was like, you know, at home I just leave, like if I need a piss, I'd leave the mask on and all, because I know the way, do you know what I mean? And like I just go in and
leave your mask on over your eyes.
Yes. I don't want the light, do I? The light wakes you up.
So you piss like a blind man in the middle of the night.
Well, yeah, what's wrong with that? I live on my own. I know where the bog is, and I know where my cock is.
I mean, it's a great reply, but I just love the imagery. You know, I love it, like picturing things. Just picturing you walking through your house.
The light wakes you up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't want the light to lead the back. I couldn't do that on the top.
I'm not criticising it as a concept. I'm just the image of it entertains me.
A better image than you bollock on, I would suggest. Anyway. So yeah, that woke me up then, and like when I tried to get my head back down, I had like my boss earplugs in, all of that, but there was someone on there, fuck me, unbelievable snoring.
Really?
Unbelievable though. Like one fella had got a cob on and moved, and my mate had spoken to him, said you can't sleep with that fucking, you know what I mean, one of them. But I could hear him like them earplugs, I've said on here before, supposed to cut out 27 decibels of sound, and like they really worked, the boss, and I could hear the snoring through that, do you know what I mean?
From someone somewhere else on the car.
Yeah. Not even like, you know, we all had your own bit, do you know what I mean? And yeah, I could hear him, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that's some snore, that. It's like the foghorn on the ferries. Like,
I've got a cousin like that. Like, I wonder if anyone knows who that is, get in touch. Imagine sleeping in the same room as him. Well, then, if it was waking you up there.
Naming no names, I've slept in a room with someone like that once upon a time in a certain scenario. And in the end, I had to get another hotel room. Because it was that bad, I just got no sleep whatsoever. Because it was that bad. It was like so loud. And like I was kicking off, like shouting, waking him up, all kinds. And then he'd go back to sleep. And, you know, obviously can't do nothing about it from his perspective, but it was a nightmare. And I was thinking, I don't know how if that was your partner or something, how'd you cope with that?
We haven't talked about this stuff. I meant to mention to you the other week, tape your mouth shut.
Well, that's on the agenda.
Is it?
Funnily enough, because I want to talk about some mad stuff that I've spotted around footy. So it's not a big analysis of how our team's going to do in the league or anything like that. Just little wild things. And one of them I spotted was Haaland tapes his mouth up. So we'll save that. Come on to that. But yeah, there's all kinds of things, isn't there? Like things around your mouth and your nose I mean, I've been told that when I've had a significant haul of beverages, I can snore then. But equally, I don't normally. Some of it seems to be like, am I being an ass if I say weight associated?
No, yeah, there's probably I think
there's a thing there. I mean, I'm carrying a bit myself at the minute, so I'm not casting no aspersions. I'm just saying
it's not just that. I mean, there's all kinds that go into it, definitely.
But
because I started snoring, that's why I know about the tape and mouth shut thing. I never used to snore, and I don't know. Well, it's something to do with my jaw. My jaw's changed position, and I've stopped sleeping on me because like pain in the night and stuff. I started sleeping on my back more. I never used to, and all of a sudden I started snoring. Can't.
No.
Yeah, but that's the problem. So like I couldn't sleep on my sides anymore. So it was like, well, I've got no choice but to sleep on my back.
Yeah. So that was actually like, you know, when I first got my head down there on the cop, I could feel like, even though I had like two mats
sleep
and
on
all
your
that,
front on the
I had cardboard, and then I had a sort of semi blow up mat that you could get a bit of air in, and then another camp mat, and then the sleeping bag. But yeah, I could feel the concrete on my ribs. Do you know what I mean? So like I sort of, no, I did kip like that. That's how I kip. I've kipped that way since I was a kid. So I can't kip any other way.
So you slept on your front on the concrete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on all of those
So did
things.
you sleep all night except waking up once?
So I slept, I reckon, from around 11:30, 12 till about 3:15. Then there was a good hour where I was awake and I could hear that fella and all that. And then I fell asleep again, and then I woke up. It was funny when I woke up again, because there was some fella stood up from the foundation, stood at the front with a big microphone, absolutely booming out, like, thanks everyone and all that. And I hadn't heard any of that. I must have been well away, and then I suddenly like woke up, sat up, took the earplugs out, and my mate was sat there, and loads of people had already like rolled the sleeping bags. I was like the last.
You had a sleep in,
yeah. I was like the last one off out of everyone who'd done it.
I'm sitting here thinking, you had a better night's sleep than me on Saturday night then. That's better than you usually sleep, isn't it?
But then I
love the way the solution to your sleep problems is now
go on the cop.
Sleep in your backyard on the concrete, face down. Imagine saying that to Deb. I'm just going to sleep in the backyard, love. That's where I sleep best.
She did say, actually sent me a message saying, you know, you're clearly in your favourite place in the world there, like, and I was like, well, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, and then, you know, we were booted out then. Well, not booted out, that sounds harsh.
So did you get the sunrise and stuff like that? Or were you too late for that?
I
6 o'clock be too late?
Just after. I mean, it was light when I took the sleep mask off and the earbuds out. No, earbuds. I'm so tired. I'm going to be like this all the way through all these podcasts. Yeah, and then it was like, gather all your stuff together. You got a bacon butty on the way out. And yeah,
that's a nice little touch.
Yeah, it was good, that. And then I saw lots of people, including my mate, were saying, I might just have a little, you know, additional couple of hours. And I was like, that won't work that for me. I'll stay up because I know I'm having my little lad staying over. And I thought he'll want to kip by like 9ish. So I'll just go to bed at the same time as him, and it's all happy days. And then he was up till 11. And then he was up at 4. And then he was up at 7. So
you had a better night on the cop?
Yeah.
Sleep-wise?
Pretty much. Yeah. But like I say, the ultimate thing is that it's raised all that money, and that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
so,
well, mate, did well there.
Yeah, made up with me personal haul and the big haul.
And most importantly, winning.
Winning, yeah. I mean, he was quite funny, the Glenn fella, because he said, I went, oh, well, I don't think you'll claw that back, will you, now? And he goes, I haven't sponsored myself though, have I? And I was like, you shit house, you can't do that. You can't do that. Okay, what else did we have for this week on this week's agenda? We got some nice stuff through from people who listen, etc. This is where I knew I would struggle, so bear with me. Oh yeah, here we go. So Rory Cullen got in touch with us off the back of our Chinese community facts last week. So if you missed that, we were talking about sort of the Arch being the biggest in Britain, or Europe, was it even, I think. And then obviously Liverpool having the oldest Chinese community in this country as well. So Rory got in touch and said, all right, mate, love the podcast today. And then he said, I've got a mad story for you that might make a fact one week. I don't think we do it as the fact. I think we just read it out. It's about his uncle Mark, one of only 2 survivors of this ship that sank. So he sent me this link to like British Merchant Navy, and they're having this big chat. So it's about a cargo ship called Pool Fisher. And in 1979 in Hamburg, it was it was loading a cargo of how do you say this? Potash. Destination Runcorn on the Manchester Ship Canal. It went out to the North Sea, met with some heavy weather. The canvas hatch covers came adrift a couple of times. The sailors kept having to go out and batten them down. Basically got into trouble, big trouble, and started taking on loads of water. Lashed out a mayday call. And quite fortunately, like another ship went past it and basically said, like, it doesn't look right. Things don't look right there, lads. You're all right. And whoever was sort of manning the radios gone like, yeah, it's Sam, we're all right. They weren't, and it got into big trouble, like. And so like mayday calls went out much later on, but they couldn't find them. But this other ship that had passed them was able to say, we saw them before. We thought they were fucked. Yeah, we can plot back roughly where they were. And that was that's what eventually saved them. But yeah, so it says that he found wreckage, and in there were 2 young lads, Mark Fuchs, 17, and Don Crane, 18, clinging to hatchboards in seas up to 40 feet high. They were on the point of death with hypothermia. A winchman from the Royal Navy helicopter went down, sent them up, took them to hospital near Portsmouth where they were treated. And on it went. And then there was a bit of a mad turn in this story as well about one of the fellas who was sort of involved with this rescue and sort of saw what had gone on, got semi-threatened by some like heavies, but basically like, sort of don't tell your side of the story type of thing, which is a bit of a mad bit off to the left. I might leave it on the left, to be honest. But yeah.
And who was it? What was the relation to him?
It's his uncle. Yeah. So Rory listened to the show, said about sort of, their family's links to the Chinese community. He even sent me, like some links from the Echo and stuff, from local papers. Thank God I'm alive, and that kind of thing. A bit of a mad story. 2 dead, 11 missing from that ship. One of the headlines in the Echo said, but 2 Mersey crewmen survived. And he said they clung onto a piece of wreck. This is from Rory telling an additional bit of the story. They clung onto a piece of wreckage in the freezing sea, kept each other alert and awake by singing rival footy songs at each other because his uncle's a red and the other lad who survived was a blue. So they're basically giving each other shit in the sea as they're essentially dying of hypothermia. But yeah, he said basically us talking about that last week sort of brought back loads of nice memories, not just that one of that particular story. So that was just boss to hear, really. Again, as I say every week, it is dead nice to hear from you, and we don't always respond, and stuff is going on in our lives and things like that as well. But we do read everything, and it does go in, and I try and put it on the show, and sometimes I forget because we're all human, etc. David Thomas was one of many people to send this particular one to us. Let me find the link. So we obviously did a show the other week about Florida Man, and there were lots of great Florida Mans. And if you haven't played Florida Man, if you missed that particular show, you can play the Florida Man game by you Google your birthday, so 21st of June or whatever. You Google that, I'm Florida Man, so June the 21st, Florida Man, bang that into Google, see what comes up.
It caught a lot of people's imagination, didn't it? We got loads on that.
Oh, we got absolutely loads, yeah. And we did a follow-up show where we read some of them out, but people are still sending them to us now. And there was a new one, which Lodi has sent to us. So this is from September the 7th. So, only last week. It's fucking brilliant, this one, to be fair. So Dave and all the other people who sent us it, thanks very much. So this is Florida man arrested after trying to cross the Atlantic in a human-powered hamster wheel. You don't hear that every day, do you? So a man from Florida was trying to cross the Atlantic in a human-powered hamster wheel, arrested by the Coast Guard. Reza Bellucci was 70 miles off Georgia when officers found him during a manifestly unsafe voyage while Hurricane Franklin was headed towards the area. The Coast Guard said the vessel was afloat as a result of wiring and buoys. He was arrested after a bizarre 3-day standoff with authorities, the release said. At one point, he refused to get off the vessel, displayed 2 knives, and threatened to hurt himself. He also threatened to blow himself up. And the Navy was asked to determine the location of an alleged bomb, but it was later revealed the bomb was not real. Apparently, he told the Coast Guard that he was trying to travel to London in his vessel. So he didn't aim low.
No, he acted specific to destination in mind.
Yeah. So he was. Do
you know what's mad about stories like that? I am conscious before I even say this out loud. This might make me sound awful, but I think this is just part of my let people live their lives how they want to live them as long as they're not hurting other people thing. I think that's sort of generally sums up how I think about life. Why do we invest this much time and energy in saving people who are like hell bent on? Why just let him fucking do it?
Well, I guess how do you know?
He wants to be. He doesn't want to be.
His mental status.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be rescued to the extent that he's threatening the people who are trying to rescue him with knives. Isn't that a sign that you just let him get on with it? Or is the point that when he could be, if he's got mental health problems, we should be saving him?
I think it's probably that, mate.
And where's the line? Do you know what I mean? Well, you've got mental health problems. If I decide to suddenly go out on a fucking hamster wheel across the sea.
And I guess it's he could endanger other people as well.
But I get that bit. Like if he's saying I'm going to blow up me fucking hamster wheel and it's near a load of other people and boats, it's like, all right, well, we can't let him do that. But if he's just in the middle of the sea,
well, it's not the first time he's done it. So he was also found trying to cross the ocean on a human-powered vessel in 2014 when they found him 70 miles off Florida in an inflatable bubble, and that was during an attempt to run around the Bermuda Triangle.
I mean, I'd love to meet him. Can we try and get him on the show? It's mad that what's popping into my mind is I've noticed recently, just in the past few days, I've started saying to my 5-year-old stepson, like the line just came out my mouth and I've said it to him a few times since, like, have you thought this through? Like I'm trying to encourage him to think through stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like get him in the idea of like, there are consequences to your actions. So like, cause he's done a couple of things recently. One, it was funny the other day, like his mum said to him, go and get yourself dressed again, trying to give him a bit of independence and that. And he came downstairs and it was like, if you get yourself dressed, you can then have a reward, whatever it was, go on YouTube or whatever. And he came downstairs with his clothes on over his pajamas as a joke, which I thought was quite funny. Do you know what I mean? It's like in our sort of realm of comedy. And his mum said to him, well, sound, but like you haven't done what I asked you to do. So now you need to go back upstairs, get fully undressed, get properly dressed again. And he started crying because he was like, oh, I can't be arsed with that. And I was saying to him, but mate, your joke was funny. I thought it was funny. Like it made me laugh, but you didn't think it through. Like you haven't thought that once you've done that joke.
How old is he?
5.
I'm just thinking about the thinking it through thing.
Yeah. No, mate, don't get me wrong. Me and Siobhan talk about this. Like I have to every now and then check myself and go, he is only 5. Like, do you know what I mean? But then I don't think that you can't be too young because his brother's 3 and he'd like, if I said to him, think it through, he'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? Yeah. But he is like, he's a clever kid. So it's not like he doesn't get it and he does start to go, okay, yeah. Because I'm going to him, if you're going to get upset about it, don't do the joke in the first place. But anyway, it makes me laugh that I'm thinking like that with a 5-year-old and this is a grown man. If I was with him, I'd be going to him, have you thought this through, mate? You're going to, like, even if a human-powered vessel, even if it stays afloat, do you know how big the Atlantic Ocean is?
I know.
And how big the waves are? Like, have you even looked this up?
And if it's propelled by him,
yeah.
What, like the bubble thing.
How fit are you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what about,
Can you run a marathon? Like, imagine just saying to me, have you ever tried to run a marathon? And if he goes, no, You go, well, I'll try that first.
But also, like, you know, I'm guessing if you're propelling it, you've got at least some minor control of, like, you know, where you might be going. But, you know, like when you inevitably need a kip, like, you know, where's it going then? Do you know what I mean? The other one, so we'll move on. That's the feedbacky type stuff we've had this week. My general theme for this week was going to be, and I wanted to have like much more in my locker, I've got to be honest, but we've done half an hour already. Was just like mad stuff that happens in footy, or mad stuff that you hear about footy and you just think...
Mad things they say, because they was prompted by the Madison article,
so the Madison did an interview with...
who I like, by the way. I think it's
he seems sound, doesn't he? Yeah. So, Madison at Spurs came out with... he talked about sort of why he was glad. It was quite an interesting interview, like, you know, the normal stuff he was sort of saying about the type of player he is. He was glad to be at Spurs. He liked Gaza growing up and things like that. Then he was quickly saying, you know, I'm not saying I'm like Gaza, but I am like I do think I'm like a flair player who can create things, which is fair. You know what I mean? And then he says it's a streak that's reflected in... He talks about his personality and says it's a streak that's reflected in his style of play, an attitude rather than arrogance. And then this is the mad bit, which everyone's ended up talking about, us now included. It's not a conscious effort to try and be the showman, he said. That's just how I play football. That's just how I am as a person. When I go for a roast dinner with my family, I like to be the main man. Now, what does that mean?
What the fuck does that mean, James?
And like, you know, quite obviously, like, you know, the journalist who wrote it, the sub-editor who wrote the headline, you know, everyone involved in the process has gone...
There's the line.
Yeah, there's the line.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to absolutely buzz off that. It's going to go viral on the internet. People are going to be talking about it. And and it's done just that. You know, just without sort of... I was going to sort of bring up loads of stuff that other people had said, but I swear I half wrote an agenda and I don't know where it is. Couldn't find it this afternoon. So we'll just have to go with what we actually think, which I guess people are more interested in anyway. But I'm a big fan of a roast dinner. And I don't have them much because, you know, like, get the violins out. I live on my own, and like, to make one for myself is a fairly big effort, and you'd end up with loads of pots and pans. And also it's a bit weird, like, you know, things like doing a dead small bit of meat in like a massive oven, and like, I've got an air fryer, but, you know, nevertheless, it just feels like loads of effort for, you know, like, if you're making it for a few people, then you get like, well in, Sean, nice that.
Well, roasting it to me is a communal thing. So you make it for yourself, there's also like an emptiness about it. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
Like a dark.
So, you know, if I make myself a roast dinner and then eat it by myself, I'm definitely the fucking main man because there's no one else there. But I'm guessing that's not what he meant. He said when I go with my family. So, like, does he mean like he wants the highest pile of meat, the most roast potatoes, the biggest?
I think I said to you, these things, honestly, I very rarely look at comments on Twitter or internet and stuff. Like, you know, people replying to other people's tweets, but every now and then I will. And this is one where I did. And for me, these are the places where the internet is good. Like, it's funny because you do get like people chipping in with some funny, like, replies, do you know what I mean? Suggestions of how he makes sure he's the main man when he's there. Are you finding it?
I'm looking for it, yeah. What was your, like, I mean, what did you think he might do? How can you be the main man about a roast dinner? It's got to be like the pile of food, hasn't it? You know, like, or eating it the quickest. Well, licking the plate.
It's things like this. I can't believe the journalist doesn't say in that interview.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, mate? Yeah. How the fuck are you achieving this main man status in your family? And who you're up against? I have this thing in my family. One of my aunties openly calls me her favourite and has done for years. Like, she'll just go, he's Paul's my favourite nephew. And everyone else goes, you can't say that. You're not allowed to say that. I'm like, well, everyone. You know, me cousins say that. Although aunties know, just like, she can say what the fuck she wants. But I said, it only dawned on me for a while, like last year, I was like, I haven't got a huge amount of competition now, have I? Like, there's not like I'm up against loads of fucking Olympic fucking athletes in my family. So who's his competition for being the main man in his family? That's another question. And what do you know? So is it even a fucking achievement?
Yeah,
isn't he the main man by default because he's a Premier League footballer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that would come to a point where he wouldn't be asked.
Is he paying? He must be paying.
But like,
you can't be claiming to be the main man and not paying for everyone, can you?
Well, you'd guess he would be. But I mean, is it like, well, some of them have chefs, don't they? And like Lovren used to have like a live-in chef. You know, like that just basically boxed all the scrap.
Oh, I'd fucking love that. But that's so. I mean, so.
But is it like if you go for set? You know, like is it like you go for a carvery?
Well, that's what
like the nan goes for like a bit of seconds. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Oh, I'm having seconds then. Do you know what I mean?
That's someone suggested that it's a Toby carvery. You have every one of the meats.
Someone put up like a picture of I can't remember what his name is, but like someone put basically looking at the screen talking while sat there with a meal, and he's pouring gravy on. And someone's put Madison with the no-look gravy.
Yeah, shit like that of you.
But it is a weird one. And footy players in general, you know, have it. I mean, I'm glad in a way. When I saw it and I thought, I get that people think it's weird. And I get that there's going to be internet reaction to it and all that. But equally, I thought, you know what? I'm glad in a way. Because for years, I feel like we've done shows about what footy players and managers say. And one of my gripes has always been they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Because they're like media trained to like a ridiculous degree, you know, and it's all like, you know, he scored like, you know, an unbelievable goal. And they always come out and it's all about the team. It's all about the 3 points. And I just want one of them to say,
I'm fucking
beauty that, wasn't it,
I'm fucking brilliant, mate.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But I was just about to say to you, like, and I often defend people who say things publicly and then they get shit for it. Because I'm like, yeah, you're getting shit for it mainly from people who don't say things publicly. The number of things I've said publicly and you've said publicly, and I've done interviews and stuff where you read it back and you read some of the things you said and think, fuck it hell, mate. That doesn't come out well, does it? And then if someone went, but what do you mean? You'd be like, I didn't mean it like that. And because he's got personality, that's going to happen to him. I saw a little clip from the other week which I really liked. Like he came to take a corner. Have you seen this one? I know it's got nothing to do with this other than the fact about his personality. He came to take a corner in front of the like away end, and they were all giving him loads of shit. I can't remember, but he just put the ball down like
Southgate's right, you fucking shit when they were singing that to him.
I don't know, but like whatever they were singing to him, he just completely ignored them as if like he couldn't hear them. And then he went to take the corner, but from like 3 yards outside where you've got to take it from, and he put it down there and went to take it, and they all started kicking off, and he turned around and just like smiled at them, just say and in fairness, everyone laughed. Because like, oh, good, yeah, that was good. That.
Yeah, he has got a bit of sort of swagger and arrogance, but you know, I kind of think if you're playing his kind of role in a footy team, then you're meant to have, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, have you ever read? I remember this story and loved it, but again,
yeah, that
shows
it was against Bournemouth that he did that. Yeah.
Have you ever read the Alan Shearer story? I can't remember who told it. It was someone who played with him at the time for Blackburn, but this highlights what you're saying about the difference between people in real life and people. Their public persona. It was someone who played with him, and it was after a game when he was playing for Blackburn and they won the league, and he said, whoever it was said, I brought my family to behind the scenes, like to show them after the game, and they all loved Shearer, and everyone was like, oh, he's such a humble guy, isn't he, Joe, considering how good he is. And he said they were walking through by the dressing room and all that, and there was a voice coming out the changes, and they could hear it was someone like, there was someone just still in the bath. And it was someone just singing, there's only one Alan Shearer, just singing it to themselves. And he walked in, it was Alan Shearer singing his own song. And I remember thinking, boss that. But
equally though, he once said in an interview that he liked creosote in the fence, didn't he?
He liked creosote in the fence?
Yeah, boring bastard.
Oh, yeah, but think about the shit we talk about on this.
Creosote
just
in the fence.
Middle-aged man, isn't it? You're not into that?
No, not having that one. Just to add to like the way this day's gone and how tired I am and all the rest of it, like the
you've only got another 2 hours of podcast to get through after this as well.
And now when the Google Docs on my things just decided to update, so now I can't look at the agenda I had.
I love it when that happens.
So that's sound as well. The other thing that I was going to mention was,
you just look from here, it just looks like you're flicking through the internet now.
I know. Well, I can roughly remember some of it. Oh, it's come back alive. Got to reboot the app now. Cheers, Google Workspace. But yeah, Erling Haaland was the other thing I was going to give a shout out to. He's a bit weird, isn't he? You know, like remember him dancing around in his like grundies and that, and like they were shit undies.
He's another one. Do you know, like I said,
you know, like he's minted, isn't he? Like and all that, and I just think like if you're gonna jump around the changes, having won something, like you'd check that your undies were good ones, weren't they? Yeah. These look like proper like like piss stained white fronts that some granddad would have or something.
Yeah,
and then he went on the aisle, didn't he, to celebrate in like some pajamas as well.
Yeah,
and it was like that's a bit try hard.
I was just about to say that comes across as just him trying to be a bit odd.
Yeah,
but do you know my thing we had the other month when I said about I've got my theory that loads of billionaires are aliens. He's another one. I reckon like years to come, people look back and go, they were already cyborgs, and they'd be like, Erland Haaland was a cyborg, and you'd be like, of course he fucking was. He was 6'8". He could run dead fast. He could. Have you seen some of the goals he scores? Do he like puts his head up? He puts his leg up above his head to like hook a ball in that's already past him. You're like, that's not fucking human.
But he's talked about. We talk about sleep, don't we? And fucking appropriate when I've had none. So he's talked about sleep in a podcast that he did with Logan Paul, the Impulsive
That's an awful
podcast.
Name, isn't it?
Fuck off.
Logan Paul. We could go off on a fucking tangent here. Logan Paul and people like him represent everything I don't like about the world now, you know. I was watching the US Open final last night and or the night before, when was it? And I couldn't sleep. And there was so many even the commentators saying, God, it's like celebrity bingo. And people like him were in the audience, like watching. And when you just look at someone and go, you're just a knobhead. You're just a knobhead.
You can do all that work on yourself and yet you still just do that, which that's the type of thing that you do when you're in school or something, isn't it? Like you just don't really know someone, but they're like a few years above. And you just think,
I'm all right with that though. I think the work I've done, it's to allow yourself to be like that and to be like, it's all right. It's all right for me to look at someone and think they're a knobhead. I don't need to be like, oh, everyone's lovely and they're not. They're not. Everyone isn't lovely.
Well, anyway,
go on.
So Haaland explained on this podcast that to feel good, move good, and generally be your best, and get a good kip, he advises taping up your mouth when you go to kip. The idea being that it promotes nasal breathing, which is then meant to have loads of benefits. So he said on this podcast, I think sleep's the most important thing in the world. You should try to take your mouth closed at night and when you train. So I didn't spot this bit when I put on the agenda. He reckons it's better for sleep and for performance. The theory behind, and then they've got a sleep expert in this piece, the theory behind sleeping with your mouth taped shut is that it can help you to breathe through your nose. When you breathe through your mouth, you're more likely to dry out your mouth and throat, which can lead to snoring. Mm-hmm. Tape that mouth up, lad. Dry mouth and other problems. Nasal breathing, on the other hand, is said to improve oxygen saturation and potentially lead to better sleep quality. So you've had a go with this?
I've done it, yeah. I was doing it the other month. I forgot to say it to you.
So what was your conclusion?
Well, I started...
Did it feel weird first off, the fact that you've settled down and there's tape on your mouth?
Yeah.
Because that'd be the first thing.
It's odd.
Yeah.
And even like Siobhan sleeping next to me, I don't like it. Like, you feel like a prisoner. Like that their mouth taped up. I put my hand over my mouth to talk on a podcast then. That's professional, isn't it? Fucking pro. Yeah, it's weird. And then because I wake up so many times in the night, I'll wake up like at least 5 times in the night. And every time you wake up, you're straight away conscious your mouth taped shut. And then if you want a bit of a drink or something, it's just all a bit weird. And at the same time, I read all that stuff when I tried doing it. It did help to begin with. I did feel a bit better. Like it felt like there was some stat I read about, like you get 18% more oxygen that way or something, which seemed to help. But there was nothing. Put it this way, I didn't notice the improvements in things wasn't great enough for me to want to carry on doing it. Like I very quickly started saying, "Can we find some other solution to this? I don't want to keep taping my mouth shut."
I can imagine that.
Just not nice, really.
I had a chat with Kirkland actually about sleep and all that, because we've talked about all that before, and mental health and all the rest. Because I got to know him a bit because I lived by him for a while.
Yeah, you went on a big walk with him.
Walk with him, yeah. Because funny enough, my mate brought that up. It was like, Robbo went on a walk with you, didn't he? And he went, yeah. He went, I'm going to get him to do that again. And he went, and he came back and went, just speaking to Kirkland there, and I mentioned the walk. He said he's going to get you on another one. I was like, fuck that. It was like 11, I think we did 11 miles that day. And like, bear in mind the size of
fella,
Kirkland.
isn't he?
Bear in mind what his strides are like.
Yeah.
Were
you like a little kid trying to keep up with him?
Honestly, God, I was so done.
I used to be like that with my dad, like running alongside him as he's walking.
But I remember like when we got back and like where he lived, we sort of circled round, we went up all these little hills into the country lanes, then come all the way back around again, and eventually sort of ended up by his. And like, so he got off obviously when he got to by his, and then I was still carrying on walking. But as he like got to by his missus came out and she literally went to me like, you've just learnt the hard way, haven't you there? She went, that's why I don't go on a walk with him. And
that's why he's trying to find lads on the internet to go with him.
Yeah.
He's burned through the family.
Well, he used to go with, I think he used to go with Tony Bellew. And then, I think Tony's moved now.
He's like, fuck that.
He's moved.
To get away from it.
didn't want to carry on.
That's what happened.
The walk was too fast.
He came in one day, went to his missus, I think we should move, She's like, why? I need to get away from Chris.
Literally like a champion boxer. But he's like, I can't keep up with him, Have you seen the size of his legs?
There are different levels of conditioning, Chris Kirkland and Tony Bellew, though.
But I was saying about like my routine and all that, and I'd found this way, and we were talking about like CBD and all that, because I had to go with that once, and he said he'd had to go, and he thought there was some kind of,
it's all right.
Yeah. But I did as well. I just wasn't sure whether it was, psychosomatic or real. And I guess
but I often hear people say this, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I know. But I thought the same with and I always get this wrong, melatonin.
Melatonin, yeah.
Yeah, I had to go with that.
Well,
which was a recommendation from someone who listened to this. And that worked. And whether it was placebo or not, it definitely worked, because I was at the height of terrible sleeps, and I ordered it. And I don't know if I should say on here really. You can get it in this country, but the doctor's meant to get it for you. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's meant to prescribe it, or he or she. But there are ways and means. So we just say,
you can't get melatonin though, isn't it?
It's not like class A drug, is it? Like, anyway, I managed to get some. I had to go for a month, and I
think you're safe, considering we've talked about me doing like frog spunk and that.
And it defo worked. But then I remember Debbie saying to me, well, but you don't want to just be like a slave to that now forever. She was like, now that you've done the month, why don't you just see if you can keep? And since then, touch wood,
been all right.
It's been all right, yeah. But I've introduced like my big routine with the pillow spray, the pressure point stuff, the eye mask, all of that gear. But I think it it's working in some way. Whether it is the actual,
but the routine might be helping.
The routine, I think it's probably that, because it's like literally like I'm telling myself, we're going to
have a good night's sleep. You're preparing for it. Yeah.
And I even seen this thing where I liked as well once, and I do this. And I just think it's that basic, but it's nice and it works, which was, I think one of my problems has always been like thinking when I'm trying to go to sleep. And like, I used to be able to do this thing where I could almost like look into the distance with my eyes shut, if you know what I mean, and sort of concentrate on that. But then that stopped working and my thoughts were coming back in again. But then I read this really basic thing, and it just said, think of something nice that you're going to do tomorrow, and like picture it properly, and smile about it, sort of thing. So I do that now, and that works.
You going down the Ricky Lambert route of smiling at cans of Coke and that?
No, I haven't got there yet. Turning water into crystals and all that.
Nice.
Someone said someone said on the This Is Anfield comments we should get him on. It's like,
I would happily chat to him.
You can do that.
But mate, all of this stuff, honestly, one of the things that does my head, I mentioned this in my book, a chapter at the end about health, like, I've always not always, since I've gone down this new path, like, when people talk about placebo effect, it's like, it might just be in your mind. It's like, and what? It's like, if there was ever proof that like the pharmaceutical industries don't care about your health and only care about making money, it's when they do results of like trials, and they go, in this group we gave them our drug and 70% of people felt better, and in this other control group we gave people a sugar pill and 30% of people in that group felt better, so therefore our drug is better. And I'm like, hang on, go back a bit. You gave people in the control group a sugar pill and 30% of them had the same or better results than people who got the drug. Shouldn't we be fucking looking at that? They got better because they believed they were going to get better. But why aren't we pursuing that
So
path?
how do you engender them to believe? That would be the problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but so why don't we pursue that path? Because no one makes any money out of it. And the pharmaceutical companies go, oh, this is what they do. That's just the placebo effect. Forget that. Like,
but how do you make them believe?
Effect?
Like, you know, if you can't kip and you've tried all different things and it's like, it really gets you down, it's shite. And then they just say, well, just think yourself, but you're not going to, are you? You need something.
Yeah, but you need techniques to do it, and you're already doing it, but you're just not realising you're doing it.
Well,
your techniques are convincing yourself that you're going to sleep better.
Well, that's what, you know, Chris said to me, so you think that, and I was like, well, I don't know, but I'd say get some pillow spray and that and have a go, because see what happens, you know what I mean? Okay, we'll move on. I was just going to talk about like more mad stuff in footy, as I say. You know, when I was thinking about mad stuff in footy, I thought about Balotelli, and I thought I haven't looked him up for a while to just see what's going on and what have you. And then when I was Googling his name, I was just finding stuff, thinking that's mad, isn't it?
Is he still playing? Because I last saw him, was it the Champions League final? And they threw him on one of the panels. Did you see him? I'm sure it was the Champions League final.
Have you made this up?
No, because he came on
he's playing
in place of someone else
in the Swiss Super League.
Oh, okay.
Apparently right now.
Because he wasn't that good a pundit, and you could, like, people were a bit like, why have you got him on?
He's 33 now, but still going, still finding people prepared to take a punt. But I found a thing that when he had a contract with Milan, they put a clause in his contract saying banning him from having extravagant haircuts and clothing and committing to a healthy lifestyle. All the best with that. And then it was also rumoured that he was meant to have a behaviour bonus in his Liverpool contract as well. And that was things like he'd get £1 million if he avoided getting 3 cards in a season.
It's fucking... What's the talk about kids? I've been saying this lately. Like, everyone's just a child. That's all we are.
He really is.
But think about that. That's just the equivalent of us saying to 5-year-old kids, isn't it? If you're good, you'll get some sweets. It's the grown-up equivalent. Imagine all the other players in the squad going, why don't I get £1 million bonus for not getting booked all season? Why don't I get a bonus for not getting mad haircuts? Why are you rewarding him for this?
It's such a mad signing though, isn't it? Joe, when you think back.
When you look back,
like,
it's just fucking...
You know, the manager didn't want him. He sort of made that fairly
Remember
clear.
The story? I think it might have been Gerrard who told it. Like, Rodgers pulled Gerrard aside to talk to him about it, and was just like trying to like justify it and be like, no, I think we can make it work. And you're like, you're trying to persuade yourself here, mate. No one believes this is going to work.
4 goals he got in 28 games.
But do you remember, in fairness, like, he got a big welcome at Melwood, didn't he? Do you remember when he turned up?
He got a big welcome from us. We gave, fans.
That's what I mean, yeah.
We gave him a go, like, and, you know, we got back him from the stands and all that, but he was just a blur, wasn't he, at the end of the day?
Well, think about what he was coming in to replace, and could you have picked a more opposite footballer or human?
I'm just looking at some of the stuff that came out at the time or after he'd left, like, and it was all the one player told The Athletic. A lot of the lads caned him, but there was little comeback. He barely moved. This was, as things were starting to unravel. All he got back from him was a few scowls and a fuck you. He didn't try to justify anything or tell anyone. He just basically was an arse. There was a mad story, wasn't there? I was wondering if it was in this piece now that he like sent someone out one day to like get him a new iPhone. Like when he was in training, and some like randoms rocking up with a new iPhone, and it's like, who are you and what do you want? He's at work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Do one. I mean, I feel like if it prepped properly and all this, we probably could have had a good chat about Balotelli.
Well, he did an interview once, didn't he? It might have even been with Noel Gallagher, but I might have made up that bit where they went through. It was before he signed for us. They went through all of the urban legends about him and asked him whether they were real or not. And some of them were just made up, and he was like, nah. But there was loads of mad ones where he was like, yeah.
Setting fireworks off inside his house and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think he said that one was bullshit, but the one was real. Was one that was like, remember there was one like Big, the movie, where he went out and bought like trampoline and arcade machines and all that for his house. So if you went into his house, it was like a 10-year-old's house.
I wanted to quickly throw these at you. We'll do these and we'll do the fact, and then that'll probably be about it. So, Ruud van Nistelrooy. How old do you reckon he is?
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Just come, whatever comes into your head.
I was going to say 43 then, but that'd be the same age as me. 45.
Okay. So he's 47.
Oh, not a bad
Same
guess.
age as me. Okay, and Patrick Kluivert. How old do you reckon he is?
If Van Nistelrooy's 47, I'd say Kluivert's 53.
Patrick Kluivert is also 47 and they were born on the same day.
Really?
It's fucking mad, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just found that randomly on the internet the other day and I was like, no!
Yeah.
What?
Would you have said the same?
I wouldn't have
Was
had
Kluivert playing as a
It
kid
feels like
then?
they had like different careers, like different times.
Different
you know what I mean?
years.
And I was just like, that's blown my mind. I was like, I'm going to get copy with that. And then the other one is just, I was just reading through the random footy websites, and this says that between 1975 and 1988, West Brom's managers were called, ready? Johnny, Ronnie, John, Ron, Ronnie, Ron, Johnny, Nobby, Ron and Ron. I just enjoyed that.
I like that.
I just enjoyed that. And then,
Do you reckon, when we talk about people sitting around the table, do you reckon they were like, no, it's got to be a Ronnie or a John?
I love that though. It's just boss, isn't it? 1975 to 1988. You feel like it couldn't happen now because, like so many of those names just aren't happening these days, are they? Okay, and then me fact. Despite everything, I've still managed to find the fact.
Amazing.
So St. George's Hall, I'm going forward, whereas I feel like you could do a show on St. George's Hall because, absolutely magnificent building, obviously. You're greeted by it when you get off the train at Liverpool. Queen Victoria once described it as being a building worthy of ancient Athens. It's got loads of sort of claims to fame and facts and figures. It hosted the world premiere reading of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens in 1866, but that is not the fact.
That's a good claim to fame though, isn't it?
Good one, isn't it?
Why another one to add to the fucking list?
Well, Dickens had a little knock round in Liverpool for a while.
Did he?
That's another one that I've been thinking of throwing
Why
in.
aren't we talking about this?
I know.
Like, as a city, do you know what I mean? The shit
But the one I wanted to mention, so you know where St. George's Hall is, and then you got St. John's Gardens at the back of it. So that was like a mass burial ground, and it basically filled up over a period of time, to the point where they literally couldn't get any more in there. And and it included some loads of French, from conflicts that were involved in and all this kind of stuff, and then them being put in poorly sanitized prisons and things like that. And there are little plaques there now. And it was a lot of poor graves, pauper graves, vagrants, whatever. And apparently honked a bit, as you would imagine. And that's believed to be one of the reasons for that. St. George's Hall was one of the first, or believed to be one of the first places in the world to ever have air conditioning to relieve to help to relieve the smell. So it was Dr. David Boswell Reed, 1851, his systematic ventilation for the building.
What year did you say?
1851.
1851, they'd invented air conditioning.
Yeah. The term air condition was first used about 75 years later, but he basically built a system that was to do the same thing all the way back then. And that was believed to be the first place that it happened in the world.
Okay,
so yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into the detail bit of it because that's just beyond me. I'm not an engineer and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'll just leave it up to you to go and look it up if you're interested, basically. We are shortly going to do the next podcast, which is live at 5. And once again, I recommend that you should go and watch and listen to that every Monday, where we talk about the Reds.
And we should say, because we need to start making a point of this, don't we? If you miss it live at 5 on a Monday, you can still watch it as a
as a thing afterwards.
YouTube video,
yeah,
or listen to it as a podcast.
Yeah, you can catch it afterwards if you don't catch it at the time. I'm going to read this out because this is just going to be one of them things that I'm going to keep on putting on agendas and we never do it. So listen to this and see what you think. Okay, ready? I'm going to do it quick. So we've done 59 minutes, 27 seconds. So I'll read it. Okay, I'll just go. Right, here we go. Today was the absolute worst day ever. And don't try to convince me that there's something good in every day, because when you take a closer look, this world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness don't last. And it's not true that it's all in the mind and heart, because true happiness can be obtained only if one's surroundings are good. It's not true that good exists. I'm sure you can agree that the reality creates my attitude. It's all beyond my control. And you'll never in a million years hear me say that today was a good day. And when you get to the bottom, it says, now read this from bottom to top.
So you sent this to me the other week, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I read it through and I was like, fucking hell, mate. Not like sending me something fucking depressing to read. And then I read it.
So then you read it like the other way around. So today was a good day, and you'll never in a million years hear me say that it's all beyond my control. My attitude creates the reality. I'm sure you can agree that it's not true that good exists only if one's surroundings are good. True happiness can be obtained because it's all in the mind and heart. And it's not true that satisfaction and happiness don't last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while, even if this world is a pretty evil place. Because when you take a closer look, there's something good in every day. And don't try to convince me that today was the absolute worst day ever. I just think whoever's done that, it's just dead clever. And, you know, no matter what your views are on mental health and how you should handle yourself and get through your days, I just really like that. So I wanted to throw it in. And if you've got any big views on it, you're going to have to save them for next time. Because that is the late challenge. We have done our hour. I'm gonna have a sleep before the next job. So tune in next week. Get onto everything else we're doing. And do, if you can, support us on Patreon, because that's what's really helping all this keep going. Nice one. See you next week.